Every morning, same park, same bench, petting the same golden retriever. Old Frank Miller and Rex, they looked like just another retiree and his dog, until young soldier Ryan spotted that tiny tattoo inside Rex's ear. That moment shattered 10 years of silence, because Rex wasn't just a house pet, he was a hero who saved hundreds of lives in Afghanistan. Welcome to Untold Between Us. Before we tell this story, let us know in the comments what city you're watching from. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered, hit subscribe. Because real heroes aren't always human. Denver's Riverside Park was quiet at 6:30 a.m. The joggers hadn't arrived yet, the playground was empty, and dew still covered the grass. But Frank Miller was already there. The 68-year-old retired electrician sat on the same bench, petting his golden retriever Rex. He wore a faded blue checkered shirt, old jeans, and worn brown boots. His hair had turned white, deep lines marked his face, but his eyes remained alert. Rex was 6 years old, medium-sized golden retriever. His golden coat gleamed in the sunlight, but there was a strange stillness in his eyes. Unlike other dogs, he didn't run around or bark, just sat quietly beside Frank. "Good boy, Rex," Frank whispered, stroking the dog's head. "It's going to be another beautiful day." Same ritual every morning. Frank would sip coffee from his thermos while Rex silently scanned the park, as if monitoring something. Just an ordinary retiree and his dog. At least, that's how they appeared. This morning was no different. The sun slowly rose, Denver's distant mountains glowing pink in the light. Frank read his newspaper while Rex sat calmly beside him. At 7:15, as always, the first joggers began to arrive. Ryan Mitchell was a 24-year-old Army sergeant. On leave from Fort Carson, he was visiting his family in Colorado Springs. He'd chosen Riverside Park for his morning run because it was quiet and peaceful. Tall and athletic, Ryan jogged in his gray Army PT uniform. He wore earbuds and a fitness tracker on his arm. It had been 6 months since he returned from Afghanistan, and he was still processing memories from that deployment. While running, he noticed Frank and Rex. The old man and dog sat in the same spot every morning. Ryan hadn't paid attention the first few days, but then something caught his eye. The dog's behavior. Rex wasn't like other dogs. He didn't play, run around, or bark. He constantly surveyed his surroundings, listening to every sound, as if he was standing guard. This morning, Ryan slowed his pace. His curiosity had peaked. Something about the dog's behavior seemed familiar. That posture, that alertness, it reminded him of military dogs. Ryan stopped, breathing hard. He approached Frank. "Good morning, sir," Ryan said respectfully. "I'm Ryan. I see you here every morning." Frank looked up and smiled. "Good morning, son. I'm Frank Miller. This is Rex." He petted the dog's head. "You're military, right? I can tell from your uniform." "Yes, sir. I'm stationed at Fort Carson, on leave right now." Ryan looked at Rex. "Beautiful dog you have, very calm." "Yes, Rex is a special dog," Frank said, though sadness tinged his voice. "We've been together for 10 years. Ryan bent down and reached out to pet Rex. The dog calmly sniffed his hand, but then did something unexpected. He gently nudged Ryan's arm and moved into a perfect sit position, with flawless discipline. "Wow," Ryan said in surprise. "That movement looks like military training." Frank's face tensed. "He's just well trained," he said quickly. But Ryan's eyes caught something on Rex's ear. Inside the dog's ear was a tiny black marking. Ryan tried to look closer, and what he saw shocked him. There was a small but clear tattoo inside the ear. And that tattoo was a military ID number. Ryan's heart began racing. He recognized that tattoo. He'd seen dozens of military dogs in Afghanistan, and they all had similar markings in their ears. "Sir," Ryan said, his voice trembling, "that marking in Rex's ear, that's a military ID, isn't it?" Frank's face went pale. His hands started shaking. Rex looked at Ryan as if he understood what the young soldier was feeling. "I don't know what you mean," Frank said, but his voice wasn't convincing. Ryan knelt down and looked into Rex's eyes. "Hey, boy," he whispered, "you're a working dog, aren't you?" Rex's behavior suddenly changed. His ears perked up, he moved closer to Ryan and sniffed his hand. Then he did something that brought tears to Ryan's eyes. Rex touched the area around Ryan's waist, exactly the movement bomb detection dogs made in Afghanistan. "Oh my God," Ryan whispered. "You're an explosive detection dog." Tears began streaming down Frank's face. "Please," he said, his voice hoarse. "Please don't tell anyone." Ryan stood up and looked at Frank. "Sir, what happened?" "How is Rex living with you?" Frank took a deep breath. He looked at Rex, then at Ryan. 10 years of silence was about to end. "Rex isn't my dog," Frank said, his voice shaking. He's my old partner." "Sit down," Frank said, pointing to the bench. "If you really want to hear this, I'll tell you." Ryan sat, his heart still racing. Rex positioned himself between them, as if wanting to be part of the story. Frank took a long breath. "I was once Sergeant Frank Miller, dog handler. I served in Afghanistan from 2010 to 2012. He petted Rex. "Rex was my partner." Ryan's eyes widened. "You were a handler?" "We were stationed in Kandahar," Frank continued. "Rex was one of the best at explosives detection. He could detect IEDs from yards away. We did hundreds of patrols together." Frank's voice filled with emotion. "One day, in March 2012, we were in convoy formation when Rex gave an alert. There was something on the road, an IED. But I couldn't react fast enough." Ryan listened in silence. "The explosion happened," Frank said, his voice breaking. "We lost 3 of our soldiers. I was wounded in the leg. But Rex was hurt worse. Damage to his ears, broken leg." Frank stroked Rex's head. "When they took me to the hospital, they treated Rex too. But they said he couldn't continue active military service. He'd suffered too much trauma." "What happened next?" "Standard procedure was to retire the dogs and find them new families. But I couldn't leave Rex behind. He'd saved my life so many times. I applied for adoption." Frank wiped his eyes. "We came back here in 2013. I got PTSD treatment. Rex recovered physically. But he was never quite the same. He still hears every sound, still searches for threats." Ryan looked at Rex. The sadness in the dog's eyes now made sense. "We come here every morning," Frank said, "because this park gives him peace, open space, controllable environment. At home, he sometimes has nightmares." "Do you too?" Frank gave a bitter smile. "Both of us." Ryan took a deep breath. "Sir, knowing your story is an honor for me. I was also in Afghanistan, 2022 to 2023. Bomb disposal unit." Frank's eyes lit up. "Then you understand." "Yes," Ryan said, "and we owe a lot to dog handlers like you. Dogs like Rex saved our lives." Rex seemed to understand the conversation and moved closer to Ryan, resting his head on the young soldier's knee. "He still wants to work," Frank said. "As you saw, when he met you, his old reflexes came back. But he's retired now. He deserves a peaceful life." Ryan petted Rex. "Of course he deserves it. Both of you do." Frank pulled out an old photograph from his pocket. "Taken in Afghanistan. Young Frank and Rex in military uniforms under the sun. Both looked young, strong, and proud." "When this photo was taken," Frank said, "we both thought we'd win the war. Now we just try to win each new day." Ryan looked at the photo. "You did win," he said. "You both made it home. You're living together. That's a victory too." From that day forward, Ryan started doing his morning runs in this park. He talked with Frank and Rex, sometimes sitting with them. Ryan shared his experiences from Afghanistan with Frank, while Frank told stories from the old days. Rex sat between them, like a bridge connecting 2 generations of soldiers. One morning, Ryan brought something, a new dog toy and special dog food for Rex. "This is specially made for dogs returning from Afghanistan," Ryan said. "My veterinarian friend recommended it." Frank's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, son. No one's ever cared about Rex this much." Rex sniffed his new toy and began playing with it. It was the first time in months he'd looked so cheerful. "Actually," Ryan said hesitantly, "I have a suggestion." "What's that?" "There's a new veteran center that opened in the city. They do PTSD treatment, dog therapy. Maybe you and Rex could volunteer there, help other veterans." Frank thought about it. I don't know. Rex still has stressful moments sometimes. But maybe meeting other veterans would be good for both of you, to see that you're not alone. 2 weeks later, Frank and Rex went to the Denver Veterans Center. Ryan accompanied them. The center was beautiful and peaceful. It had a garden, other veterans, and their dogs. Frank was nervous at first, but Rex's behavior surprised him. Rex approached other dogs and played with them. It was as if his old energy was returning. "Hello," said the center's psychologist, Dr. Sarah Watson. "I'm Dr. Watson. It's nice to meet you." Frank introduced himself and told Rex's story. Dr. Watson listened carefully. "Rex could be an excellent therapy dog," she said, "especially for combat veterans. His experience and calmness could inspire others." Frank looked at Rex. The dog was wagging his tail, curiously examining his surroundings. "Maybe we could try," Frank said. 3 months later, Frank and Rex had become the Denver Veterans Center's most beloved volunteers. Every Tuesday and Thursday, they came to the center, talking with newly returned veterans. Rex could sit for hours beside soldiers with PTSD, bringing them peace. Ryan also visited frequently. He'd returned to his duties at Fort Carson but visited the center on his days off. One day, a new soldier came to the center. A young female soldier just returned from Afghanistan. Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez. She had PTSD and was afraid of dogs. "We lost our dogs in combat," Lisa explained through tears. "I can't bear to look at them anymore." Frank and Rex worked with Lisa for weeks. Through Rex's patience and Frank's experience, Lisa slowly began to heal. One day, while petting Rex, Lisa asked, "Was this dog in the war too?" Frank smiled. "Yes, and like you, he was wounded too. But look how strong he is now." Lisa looked into Rex's eyes. "He's a survivor too, isn't he?" "Both of us are." 6 months later, Denver held a special event for Veterans Day, a ceremony honoring war heroes. Frank didn't want to participate. "I'm not a hero," he said. "I just did my job." But Ryan insisted. "Sir, not just for you, for Rex too. He's a hero." On ceremony day, Frank and Rex took the stage. Hundreds of people stood applauding. The speaker told Rex's story. Sergeant Rex completed 127 patrol missions in Afghanistan, detected 23 IEDs, and saved countless lives. Now retired, he continues serving other veterans. Frank took the microphone. "Rex is my hero," he said, his voice trembling. "He taught me what loyalty, courage, and never giving up really mean." Rex sat calmly beside Frank, but his tail was wagging. After the ceremony, a child approached Frank. "My grandpa also used dogs in the war," he said. "Is Rex a hero like my grandpa?" Frank knelt down and looked into the child's eyes. "There's no greater hero than Rex," he said. Today, Frank Miller is 72 years old. Rex is 10 and still strong. Every morning they still go to Riverside Park, but they're no longer alone. Ryan and other veterans join them. The park has become Denver's unofficial veterans meeting point. Frank no longer hides his story. He tells visitors about Rex's and his own journey. While children pet Rex, Frank shares stories about courage and loyalty. "Heroes aren't just in movies," Frank says. "Sometimes they're sitting right beside you." Rex still maintains his old reflexes. When he hears suspicious sounds, he listens carefully, checks unfamiliar people. But now, instead of causing stress, this makes him feel useful. Ryan now trains dog handlers at Fort Carson. He shares the lessons he learned from Rex with young soldiers. "Your best partner," he tells young soldiers, "is the one who would give his life to protect yours. Respect that partner, protect him." The story of Frank and Rex shows what true heroism means. Heroes don't always wear medals. Sometimes they sit quietly on grass, carry traces of the past, and never boast to anyone. Rex saved hundreds of lives in Afghanistan. Now in Denver, he brings hope to veterans struggling with PTSD. Frank hid Rex's story for 10 years. But thanks to that young soldier's curiosity, the story of two heroes came to light. And now, Ryan, Frank, and Rex have become a family that heals the wounds of war together, supporting each other. If you ever see an old man and his dog in a park, take a second look. Maybe they too are quiet heroes like Frank and Rex. Because real heroes don't shout, they wait, until someone is wise enough to notice them. As the Untold Between Us family, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like it. If you want to hear more stories of hero animals like Rex, subscribe. And in the comments, share the quiet heroes you know with us, because every hero's story deserves to be told.